The original Jurassic Trilogy is a mix of some incredible and forgettable moments. Today I've created a video combining my reviews for the Jurassic Trilogy from Jurassic Park 1993 to Jurassic Park 3. For those who have already seen my individual reviews, I've added a segment at the end of the video going over my thoughts on the entire trilogy. You'll find timestamps just below. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the trilogy, I'd genuinely love to hear it. Let's kick it off with the classic Jurassic Park. So I'm finally moving over to new territory on this channel. So far I've mainly looked at comic book movies, and I think it's time that I looked into different genres. That's not to say I won't be coming back to comic book movies though. What a better place to begin with than Jurassic Park. It's a sci-fi, action-adventure, horror thriller, and it's adapted from a novel. This movie has it all, and I love it. I'm not just saying that. I've adored this movie since I was a kid, although I don't remember being scared by it. I mustn't have, because I would watch it continuously. I just thought it was so cool seeing a dinosaur brought to life like that. This movie also made me want to become an archaeologist and started that dinosaur loving phase of my childhood. So yeah, it had a pretty big impact on me. Released in 1993, Jurassic Park continues to captivate people around the world, and there are still millions of fans of the franchise. I mean, there's multiple reasons for this. The story and the world surrounding it, the characters and the incredible effects that bring so much wonder to these films. It deserves the love. Spielberg does a great job at pacing the film. He keeps it at a tight 127-minute runtime. It flows really well from the scene with the Brachiosaurus to the T-Rex escape sequence. It truly makes the movie feel real and a lot more gripping. The screenplay is by David Coep and Michael Crichton, the author of the original book of the same name. I haven't gotten around to reading it, I really should. I know there's a few differences, such as John Hammond having a much more evil personality than in the film. Anyway, these guys do a cracking job. There are some really iconic lines throughout the film.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I just quickly want to talk about the score. It's beautiful, isn't it? John Williams did a fantastic job at capturing the wonder of the park, and it's just another iconic piece within the movie. With a budget of $63 million, roughly $125 million in today's dollars, the film was a substantial investment for Universal Pictures. It paid off spectacularly, grossing over $1 billion worldwide, and launching one of cinema's most profitable franchises. Jurassic Park's visuals were revolutionary for 1993, and they still hold up remarkably well. The film's brilliant decision to blend both practical animatronics from Stan Winston's team and ILM's CGI created dinosaurs made it feel real, and it's what made this film truly scary. It's also what makes the film wonderful. The scene where they first come face to face with that sick Triceratops is unreal. The amount of animation and details that these puppets produce make it so believable. The design choices for the dinosaurs is what gave the movie that realism. They were scientifically accurate for the time and looked astounding. The cinematography is by Dean Cundey. He's worked on some amazing films that I'll be covering at some point. He's incredible at capturing these massive scenes in such a legendary way. For example, the T-Rex attack in the rain is obviously a famous scene, but the lighting and the framing perfectly emphasizes this dinosaur's scale. It's just a gorgeous looking sequence. The cast really tied this movie together. I enjoyed their portrayals, and I feel like each of them had a great role to play. There were no characters in the movie that felt tacked on. Even the kids, which are usually just added to a movie to give the audience this family feel, were a crucial part of the plot. Lex and Tim were also a catalyst in changing Dr. Grant's view on children. It's heartwarming to see his development throughout the movie. Dr. Alan Grant is a well thought out protagonist. He clearly loves dinosaurs, enough to know how dangerous and intelligent they are, you know?
The point is, you are alive when they start to eat you.
Sam Neill is a quality choice for this character. Him and Laura Dern bounce off of each other really well. Laura Dern's Dr. Ellie Sattler is a really cool character. I'm glad they didn't do her dirty with the damsel in distress type of role. She's brave and practical in certain scenes, specifically when she turns the park's systems back on, with the help of Bob Peck's Robert Muldoon, of course. Muldoon is clearly a badass. He kept this movie tense with some epic lines and his caution towards the velociraptors.
Clever girl.
Which is valid. Now let's talk about Dr. John Hammond. Richard Attenborough was a clever pick for such a character, as a genuinely nice guy who's a dreamer that had this albeit ridiculous idea, but it worked. Well, for as long as it could have. I felt sorry for him. His dream slowly crumbles around him, the place he spent years trying to create, this family-friendly, economically friendly park to please people out of his own pocket. I mean, he repeats himself throughout the film that he
Spared no expense.
Jeff Goldblum's Dr. Ian Malcolm does a terrific job at giving this film a philosophical sort of depth to it, asking some incredibly deep and thought-provoking questions, which is something that really hooked me about the movie. And the skepticism is fair, because, of course,
life finds a way.
Finally, I want to talk about the two people seemingly keeping this park together. Samuel L. Jackson's Ray Arnold and Wayne Knight's Dennis Nedry. It seems as though they're overworked and underpaid, which is a very relatable theme in today's society. It's the thing that pushes Nedry over the edge, willing to steal the dinosaur embryos and sell them to a mysterious buyer who actually returns in Jurassic World Dominion, but he's recast. Nedry sets the disaster in motion by doing this.
You didn't say the magic word.
And gets his comeuppance. The embryos, however, became an unresolved plot point. We literally follow these embryos closely, making it seem like it will become a crucial part of a sequel to the film, but unfortunately we don't see it again. Jurassic Park is a perfect blockbuster. It's short, it's sweet, it's horrifyingly beautiful. It's a film that revolutionized visual effects and had an incredibly tense and memorable story. Its themes about human arrogance in the face of nature feel as relevant as ever.
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
While it spawned multiple sequels of varying quality, the original is a pioneer in modern cinema, and it captivated thousands, if not millions of people. If you can't tell, I'm pretty biased when it comes to the Jurassic franchise, but I've got good reason to be. It's an awesome movie. This week, I'm continuing to review the Jurassic Trilogy with Jurassic Park: The Lost World. This film was released 4 years after the groundbreaking original, and undeniably, it had to meet some enormous expectations. While it doesn't quite reach the heights of the previous movie, The Lost World has plenty of great action scenes and expands the universe in interesting ways. The film takes a darker tone than the original, focusing on the greedy capitalist pigs who hunt these poor animals, ripping them from their habitats for profit. While still maintaining those moments of wonder that made the first film so special, of course, but just not enough in my opinion. I found this movie to be great, mostly because of Jeff Goldblum, but there's some seriously cool sequences in this movie that make it worth watching. Although I will say that this movie didn't quite capture me like the first. There are only so many routes you can take with a sequel to a film like Jurassic Park, and I feel like this nails it. Spielberg returns to direct, having to piece together a 2-hour movie out of the original novel. It's slightly longer than the original movie at 129 minutes, but it still keeps a decent pace. The screenplay is solely by David Coep this time around, and it continues to take inspiration from Michael Crichton's novel. It seems like a lot of key elements from the novel don't actually make it into the film, such as the Pyron disease that affected the dinosaurs on Site B, and the character of Richard Levine. I haven't read the book, so I'm not exactly sure what his role was, but I do know the character of Sarah Harding borrows most of his traits. The film had an increased budget of $73 million and was really successful, grossing over $618 million worldwide, just not as successful as its predecessor. Building on the revolutionary effects from the first film, The Lost World features even more dinosaurs, such as the Pachycephalosaurus and the Stegosaurus. I will say that the dinosaurs didn't look amazing this time around. They feel really janky. It could be due to seeing them close up in the daylight, but other than the practical animatronics and the 2 T-Rexes, they just aren't jaw-dropping. Stan Winston's team returns, creating some of those stunning animatronics I was just talking about, like the baby T-Rex for instance. Dean Cundey, the cinematographer for the first film, doesn't actually return for the sequel. Instead, he's replaced by Janusz Kaminski, who creates a much darker atmosphere than in the first film, losing that magical feel. I enjoy a lot of the darker scenes in the film, but it is missing that wonder, which is what the world of Jurassic Park really needs. Like I said, some sequences in the film are incredible. I think my favourite has to be the T-Rex attack on the trailer. It looks beautiful and is super intense. My second favourite is obviously when the T-Rex is let loose. The destruction it causes is epic, and again, mostly because it's filmed in the dark, the T-Rex looks awesome. I love Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm. Although he's incredibly flamboyant in his roles, he nails some tense and serious parts of this film. I do feel as though he's a bit different from his character in the previous film. He feels a lot less cocky. I've seen a lot of people commenting on how he could have PTSD due to the events of the last film, which, I mean, yeah, that's some pretty scary shit he went through.
That's how it always starts. But then later there's running and screaming.
Julianne Moore joins the cast as Dr. Sarah Harding, a behavioral paleontologist and Malcolm's girlfriend. She's a strong character who seems to be the voice of reason throughout the movie, although she's stupidly curious and puts the group in danger multiple times. Vince Vaughn plays Nick Van Owen, a documentarian and environmental activist. Honestly, he's not bad in this. He's more notable for his comedic roles, but smashes it here. Someone with the completely opposite perspective as Nick is Roland Temple, a big game hunter who's pretty much there on his own agenda, as all he wants to do is hunt a male T-Rex. Peter Postlethwaite comes across really intimidating. He's brilliant. Malcolm's daughter Kelly, played by Vanessa Lee Chester, gives us the child perspective that Spielberg often includes in his adventure films. Her gymnastics skills saving the day feels quite odd, but I really don't mind it. Richard Attenborough returns briefly as John Hammond, who's now a changed man, advocating for dinosaur preservation. We also see the kids from the previous film, Lex and Tim, who are a bit older, but it's nice to see the continuity. Now, Hammond's nephew, Peter Ludlow, takes charge of InGen as the antagonist of the film. Arliss Howard plays a great character who you really just want to punch in the face. I know I didn't do a trivia section for my review of Jurassic Park, but I'm going to do one for this movie because I just didn't have enough to say about it, and I want to keep these videos around the same length. So here are some facts about the film that I found the most interesting. Julianne Moore admitted that she did this movie for two reasons: to pay off a divorce settlement and to work with Steven Spielberg. The vocalizations for the juvenile Tyrannosaurus were of a baby camel crying for its mother. And lastly, the two models of the T-Rex each weighed 9 tons. Due to their weight, the crew constructed sets around them rather than moving them onto sets. The Lost World may not have the wonder or the charm of the first film, but it's just as intense and entertaining. This sequel expands the world, giving us an entirely new island, and uses its characters like Ian Malcolm to dive deeper into the mortality of bringing these dinosaurs back to life. I won't lie, the film lacks some sound logic in areas and may have fallen due to the weight of the fans' expectations, but it's different. They explore darker tones, new dinosaurs, and cool new set designs. I feel like The Lost World doesn't get the attention it deserves, and yes, while it may not be perfect, it's certainly an enjoyable continuation of the Jurassic franchise. And here we are with the final installment of the original Jurassic trilogy. Jurassic Park 3 is one that sits close to my heart. Rewatching it now, I can realize why. It's a fascinating movie. It takes us to Isla Sorna, otherwise known as Site B, which is what we saw in the previous film, The Lost World. It does a better job at giving the island some mystery to it, introducing us to brand new dinosaurs like the Spinosaurus and those scary-ass pteranodons. The exploration of the island is what really hooked me. I love adventure films, and this really fits into that genre. It also feels like a horror, similar to the first. However, this time it's a scarily smart Spinosaurus that stalks them throughout. It's really eerie. The film brings back Sam Neill as Dr. Alan Grant, which was genuinely fun to see. Unfortunately, the circumstances that do bring him back to a dinosaur-populated island does feel quite contrived. The movie did receive backlash when released for the overuse of action and not enough heart or wonder. and while I can definitely see that, it's still a fun ride. At just 92 minutes, Jurassic Park 3 is significantly shorter than both previous films. The runtime keeps the action moving, but considering the plot to this movie, there really isn't a need to make it lengthy. No longer directed by Spielberg, Joe Johnston takes the reins, most notable for movies like Captain America: The First Avenger and The Rocketeer. His goal was to create a similar film to The Lost World, but better, including characters that aren't specialized in the field, and placing them on the island, giving the film more tension. And yes, while that does work, the film's biggest problem was the writing. The script is where the film really starts to fall, and you can see it throughout the movie. It's dry and lacks the intrigue of the previous films. The production even started without the script. They went through a couple of variations and eventually asked David Coep, the former screenplay writer, to return. He gave them a few ideas, but he never actually put pen to paper. The final revised script was completed by 3 people: Peter Butchman, Alexander Payne, and Jim Taylor. With a budget of $93 million, the film grossed about $368 million worldwide. Profitable, but significantly less than the others, halting any sequels from being made until 14 years later, when they revived the franchise with Jurassic World. The visual effects in Jurassic Park 3 are actually insane. Stan Winston's team continues to captivate us with their animatronics. One amazing example is in the last act, where they set the water ablaze and you can see the light of the fire glisten onto the Spino's skin. I found a really interesting fact about their animatronic Spinosaurus and how they won a world record for it being the largest and heaviest animatronic ever built for a film at that time, weighing over 25,000 pounds, 12.5 tons. It's incredible. The CGI is also outstanding. Some scenes of the Spinosaurus are a bit shaky, but the design is surreal. Same goes for the Velociraptors, as we get some new designs for them, with some including feathers and new colour patterns. The film introduces the Spinosaurus as the new big bad, replacing the iconic T-Rex. This was pretty controversial when the movie released. Some people didn't like the fact that it could easily kill the T-Rex, although there are hints to the Spino being a hybrid of some sort, as Billy implies that he didn't see the species on InGen's list. Grant replies with, "It makes you wonder what they were really doing here." Another sequence I really enjoyed was the pteranodons in the aviary. It's something the franchise hasn't touched on by this point, and is very memorable. Especially the scene where the pteranodon walks out of the mist on the bridge. Man, that scene was intense. Sam Neill returns as Dr. Alan Grant, but his character feels oddly regressed. After his character development in the first film, he's back to being quite awkward around kids. Neill does steal the show with his stoic personality, and it does help build the suspense. Although, if I were him, I probably wouldn't be so calm about the Kirkbys kidnapping him onto the island. William H. Macy and Taya Leone play the Kirkby couple, who trick Grant into returning onto the island. While both are talented actors, their characters are stupidly irritating. Given they're on an island populated by dinosaurs, they seem to have little to no survival instincts. I feel the movie could have had a more meaningful ending if the Kirkbys died, leaving just Grant and Eric to escape. Harkening back to his time on Isla Nublar with Lex and Tim. Is that too dark of an ending for a Jurassic movie? I can never tell. Alexandro Nivola's Billy Brannan, Grant's assistant, is perhaps the most interesting new addition, though his character arc does feel quite rushed. I wish we got to know him a little bit more. The twist that he's still alive at the end just shows you how cobbled together the script had become. Trevor Morgan plays Eric Kirby, the kid who's stranded on the island. Unlike the children in previous films who felt integral to the story, Eric feels more like a plot device. But honestly, he's badass, managing to stay alive on the island for 8 weeks. It's longer than I'd last, that's for sure. Jurassic Park 3 was a cash grab, if we're being totally honest here, but so are the 4 sequels after this one. It's clear to see in its half-assed writing and production. However, it has some incredible highlights, and it was a fun way to end the trilogy, even if there was no overarching plot or, well, anything to consist of having a trilogy. Although saying that, I love the Jurassic universe, and I'd still see whatever slop they bring out next. Anyway, this film feels like it's checking boxes rather than telling a compelling story. Bigger dinosaur, check. Returning character, check. Kid in danger, check. What's missing is the heart and that awe that defined Jurassic Park. Yes, we got it for a second when they were on the riverboat, but it felt more like it was just there because it had to be, if you know what I mean. All in all, Jurassic Park 3 is ultimately the weakest link in the original trilogy. It's definitely not unwatchable, just not as good as it could have been. I think I've been pretty transparent on my feelings for this trilogy throughout the video, how these movies have had an impact on my childhood and my love for film. There's a lot that captures me within these movies, but the thing I most appreciate is the dinosaurs. Surprising, right? But the detail and the work put in by the teams behind the scenes were incredible. The revolutionary CGI that literally overshadowed the stop motion effects, and the insanely realistic animatronics from Stan Winston and his team made what this franchise is today. The warmth of the first film still sits with me. I rewatch the movie every year and I just don't seem to get tired of it. The Lost World, however, feels like a bit of a chore to get through, although it does have its moments. Number 3 is a fun one I go back to every now and then and was a favourite of mine when I was a kid. I recently bought the 4K box set and I love it. It looks astounding, especially the first movie, and the box it comes in is awesome. I will say that I wish this trilogy had some meaning to it. I mentioned, you would have heard it in the video, but I mentioned in my review for Jurassic Park 3 that there wasn't a need for a trilogy, and I do stand by that statement. There's no real endgame to it. I would have loved if InGen became this big antagonist throughout, kinda like they were in The Lost World. Maybe they do complete their goal of opening a park in San Diego and all hell breaks loose again. Something like that for Jurassic Park 3. My ideas are terrible, I know, but you can see where I'm coming from, right? I'd love to know what you guys think of these movies, and if you have any ideas for what this trilogy could have revolved around, or if you've got some interesting sequel ideas. Let me know down in the comments below. For what it's worth, I've enjoyed going back and watching these in preparation to review them. There are so many interesting behind the scenes stuff that has just stuck with me. Not only that, but some of the scenes resonate with me today, the same way they did when I first watched them. The franchise deserves all the love it gets, because these are iconic pieces of media that stand the test of time.